everybody, it's Malika Jackson. How are you? Lena Realty Solutions. Hope you are doing well. Hope you are staying dry. It's a little wet today, so hope y'all are inside and out, not outside working like me, but hope you're staying dry and warm and blessed. So today is day 23 of my top 50 real estate terms in 50 days. I'm almost halfway there. Unbelievable. I've been having a great time. I hope you're learning some things. I'm learning some things too, because I always, even though I use these terms every day, I've been doing this for a long time. When you use it every day, you kind of throw it around sometimes. And so I like to go back and look up the formal definitions for some of these things. And I'm learning too. So this is good for you and I. So today is day 23. Today is going to be a piggyback from yesterday. Okay. So yesterday was day 22. And I brought up a term with another term. Yesterday we talked about PMI, private mortgage insurance, and where you see your PMI is on your amortization schedule. So I wanted to do amortization schedule today because it's such an important form. It's one of the most important forms in your entire closing package. So if you have not purchased yet, when you go to closing, you're going to get a huge stack of documents, either digitally or by print, that will have your deed, your note, all of your addendums. You're also going to have an amortization schedule. If you've already closed and you own a home or own more than one property, I need you to go to your digital or hard copy and pull out your amortization schedule, because I have some homework for you, okay? So what the amortization schedule is probably the longest form in your entire closing package, right? It's usually between 7 and 11 pages, sometimes 12. You'll know it when you see it. It's usually on a legal size form because your package is going to be made of both legal and standard size documents. The amortization schedule is always on a legal size form. So it's going to be the long form, and you're going to see all of these numbers going across over and over and over and over and over again. So just to tell you what it'll look like so you can easily find it. All those numbers are all of your payments from the day you go to closing until your last payment 30 years from now. Now we're going to talk about that 30 years from now date, because that's the date that you do not want to get to, and I'll explain why. However, it's going to show you how much is principal, how much is interest, and what your final payment is, right? What you're paying every month. Now, if you've been following me, we covered PITI, which is principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, which makes up the mortgage. On that amortization schedule, it's going to break down the principal and interest portion for you. And this is a part that that the banks have to disclose to you, because a lot of people have no idea how much interest these banks are making off of you. You know how they say you pay for your home twice? You literally pay for your home twice sometimes, which is the reason why I wanted to bring up the amortization schedule. So you're going to see on that AM schedule, well, sometimes we call it an AM schedule, like I said, every single payment. So what you're going to see is, in the beginning, you'll see your payment, your mortgage payment, right? You're going to see how a good portion of that payment is all interest. Like the first 8 to 10 years, they say you're very interest heavy because the bank is going to get their money first, right? So you'll see a huge chunk of it, because it's going to break it down. You'll see a huge chunk of it going to interest, and you'll see a little bit of it going to your principal. The principal is the actual note that you're paying down, right? And so if you look down all those lines, you'll see as the 30 years go on, you're going to be paying a tiny bit less to interest and a tiny bit more to principal. So this is the thing. You need to follow your amortization schedule very closely for a couple things. One, if you are paying private mortgage insurance, it's going to show you when you have paid 20% into your home, when that's going to fall off. So that's an important thing. Also, on the amortization schedule, and also let's bring in another form. So I want you all to also look for your CD. If you've closed in the last few years, you're going to have a form called your final CD. It's called a closing disclosure. That's the form that you sign your main closing sheet. If you closed a couple years ago, you might have a HUD 1. So you're either going to have a HUD 1 or you're going to have a final CD, a CD. Pull out that form, because that and your amortization schedule are going to help you pull out the information that we're getting ready to talk about. Pull those two out, put them together. On those forms, you're going to see how much you're paying in interest over time, and that's the part that we have to get to. That's the part that you have to be very careful of. The banks are required to disclose to you how much interest you're paying on this house over the 30 years. And I always point that out to my buyers and my investors when they go to closing, so that they can see why I'm always big on getting out of a 30-year mortgage. Because you will see, it will easily say over time, you're going to pay $150,000 in interest, $200,000 in interest, $300,000 in interest. I see it every single day. If you don't believe me, Pull out your amortization schedule or pull out your final closing disclosure or your HUD-1, depending on which one you have. It's usually on the last or second to last page of one of those two forms, your CD or your HUD. It's going to show you what you're paying on the house and what you're paying in interest. You don't want to pay all that interest. That's why we're talking about the amortization schedule, because it's going to show you all that interest that you're going to pay over 30 years. So how do you avoid that? When you get your note, your first mortgage, you have a 30-year note, fine. Go ahead and rock out with that for a couple years, maybe even 5 to 7 years, right? When you have, or 5 to 7 years in a normal situation. If something happens and you start making more money and you start getting more discretionary income, you need to look into getting into a shorter mortgage, and they're very easy to do. Just call your lender and say, can you please run the numbers for me on a 15-year note or on a 20-year note? Because if you can just drop your mortgage from 30 to 20 years, you will save yourself, you could save yourself $50,000, $75,000, maybe more. If you can drop it to a 15-year note, everybody can't do that, because if you squish all that money into 15 years, as you can imagine, your mortgage is going to go up. So you got to see where you're comfortable, but get out of those 30-year mortgages, because it's going to eat all your money up. You could have bought a whole nother house. So that's it. I don't want to talk too long. The whole purpose of the amortization schedule is to disclose to you how much you're paying in principal and how much you're paying in interest. And trust me when I tell you, if you go back and look at that form, you will be shocked at how much you're paying in interest. The bank is absolutely going to make their money first. So you got to play the game. Another thing you can do is pay more than once in a month. There's some other things you can do to pay off your mortgage early. We'll get into that in another video. But for right now, I need you to pull out your amortization schedule, look at what's being paid to principal, what's being paid to interest, and how much interest you're paying over the whole 30 years. Call your lender. If you need one to talk to, I can refer you to my lender. Talk to them about getting into a lower year mortgage, a 20-year or a 15-year note, if you have the discretionary income for a little bit of a higher payment. All right, so that's it. Malika Jackson, Better Realty Solutions. Today's term was amortization schedule. Again, it's the longest form in your closing package. Pull it out so that you can be educated on where your money is going in your mortgage every month. Okay, hope it helps.